multi-layered controversy, his aides have been scrambling to provide answers. And certainly these are seismic questions that need answers. But answers that should come from the man in the eye of the storm himself. Well, let's not keep his many fans and opponents waiting, because joining me now in the studio is the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi. Very, very delighted to have you here. Thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you, Mr. Charles, for inviting me.
And we know you've had a long day, because I saw you on the television at the Labour Day, the May Day celebrations earlier today, and you've gone from one meeting to the other, so we really appreciate your taking the time to talk to us. I like that. Now, there have been a lot of reactions trailing your apparent arrest in London by the British authorities. Some have said that you were being witch hunted by the APC, others that a petition was sent against you, and still others that you were being impersonated. Can you tell us the circumstances of your purported apprehension in London and what has happened subsequently, and sort of clear the air on that? Did you commit an offence for which you were being stopped?
Thank you, Charles. One is, I was never arrested. I was never detained. And I did not commit any offense. I was stopped for a routine immigration check because there appears to be a duplication of my identity. And all this lasted for maximum of 20 minutes. And I was treated in what I do with all due respect. Charles, I lived in the UK in the 90s, say from 1993 until 2005. I
remember meeting you in London, actually, in that period.
Yes. Charles, not just that I lived there, from that 1993 till now is a period of 30 years. I have never been questioned, arrested, detained in any country in the world. I've never been, for any reason, found myself in any manner being questioned for any offense. I've not committed any offense. So it was a routine immigration check. And it lasted, like I said, less than 20 minutes. And I was actually given all the due respect by the border personality that interviewed me, who told me, your identity is duplicated, be careful. And actually had to walk me through what I can call the VIP process and everything. And I have a written document from British government.
I've seen that document.
Thank you. I showed it to you.
Clarifying the situation.
He was never detained, and it was just a few minutes question and everything. And they were Nigerians, because I arrived on British Airways. So they were Nigerians who were queuing up. Even Woods here was even worried that I was asked to just wait for a few minutes. And when that happened, I explained it to them, and there was nothing. But it's been traumatized and everything, because it's me. People said I was detained, committed an offense. People said even committed several offenses and everything. Oh, his company was closed. He wasn't paying tax. Charles, for the years I lived in Britain, never have I had any day been questioned. And I can say it, my taxes, my days were duly paid. In fact, most times they have refunded me money for overpayment. I've borrowed money, I've done everything globally. Not one day did I default in any. If you find one default, then it's not Peter Obi.
Well, I'm glad you clarified that point about the arrest. And in support of the point you're making, I have seen the letter from the British High Commission making it ineluctably clear that it was no such thing. Nevertheless, as you said, there was a huge hullabaloo about that in Nigeria. I mean, was that a humiliation for you, or at the very least embarrassing that all this was being talked about you, and I mean, even the people who follow you were disappointed?
Charles, I would have made comment on it earlier, but these things happened during the what I call holy month, where for me as a Christian, it was a fasting period and period of the Ramadan. And I felt it is not time to make comments. I only answered one question within that period when I was mentioned with treason, because I felt it's a huge offense. And because it was actually mentioned where it shouldn't have been mentioned. Other than that, I just felt this is the clarification. And I've just shown you the letter.
Yes.
I won't go about telling everybody and showing everybody the letter.
Yeah, that is true.
It just showed you where we've taken our rascality to, where people now come up with all sorts of things.
Well, some people said you were deported from the UK. but obviously not.
No, they said I was routine check and I was allowed to go.
Right.
They even saw where I attended churches and meetings and everything. But that's where we have reached.
But I mean, what sort of questions did they ask you when they took you in?
Nothing. I was there. Nobody took me to anywhere.
Right.
I was just in front of a counter, and I was asked a question, and they said, "There's something wrong with your identity. There's something wrong with your identity. Just give me a few minutes." And that's it. And I sat there for the few minutes. For about 15 minutes, he came back and said, "Your identity is duplicated. And if my identity is duplicated, you've lived abroad as identity theft, duplication, which I would say must have originated from here." But
Well,
that is for another day.
Yeah, I'm glad you've clarified that point. But there's also another question being raised about whether you are a dual citizen. As you said, you lived in London for a long time. I mean, do you have dual nationality, either British, American, or elsewhere? Because I was reading somewhere that you were conferred with the honorary citizenship of Dallas, Texas in 2022.
Charles, you know what that means? It means nothing.
Yeah.
Even one of the presidential candidates said that it means nothing. It just shows that, okay, well, if you come into this city, you're welcomed. It doesn't even give you a visa. If you apply for a visa, it can't even help you for your visa application. It means nothing. Charles, I've never applied.
Right.
And I will never apply for citizenship of any other country.
Yeah, but
I'm a Nigerian.
Right.
But I believe in Nigeria. I lived in the UK for a period of about 12 years. I had a permanent stay.
So you were a permanent resident in the UK?
But I had indefinite stay,
right. Okay.
Which means I can stay there for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
But when I left the UK in 2025, I went back to them and said, take your stay. I'm no longer have anything. And I go to the UK with visa.
And also to clarify the fact that even if you were a permanent resident, that doesn't make you a citizen of that country.
I'm just telling you that even that stay, I returned it.
Right.
I have never applied, and I will never, as long as I live.
Right.
My family knows this, everybody knows that. I was born in Nigeria. I'm a Nigerian. God created me a Nigerian. He would have made me an American, or a Japanese, or a British. But since he made it that I'm a Nigerian, I will want to live and die in Nigeria.
Nevertheless, Asari Dokubo, who is a well-known person from Rivers State, says he can prove that you are a citizen of the Solomon Islands, and that the conditions for buying property there is that you must be a citizen. What's your reaction? Do you own property there?
One, I don't know where is Solomon Island. I've never been such a place in my life. I don't know. I've never been there. I've no reason to go there. Few places I've gone in the Caribbean, people places like Haiti. I was in Haiti when they had the earthquake. I was a governor then. Everybody who is close to me knows that I've been to most troubled places in the world. So when there was earthquake in Haiti, I went to President Jonathan. He's still there. I said, Mr. President, I'm going to Haiti. They had an earthquake. I want to go and help them to rebuild. He was even surprised. He said, Peter, why? I said, that's what I've done all my life. I've been to most troubled parts of the world. As I'm speaking to you, Mr. President, I've withdrawn my son from school. We're going there to Haiti. And I went there. The High Commissioner then will tell you, I even met some police officers from Nigeria who were there, they will tell you. I even traveled with some of the people who, Bob Manuel, who used to be one of the actors, he saw me and said, I'm going to this place to help them rebuild. And I helped them to raise money then, over $200,000. So I've been to Haiti and I've been to Barbados. So other than that, I can't remember. I don't know where Solomon Islands, Charles.
Right.
I've never been there. I don't own a property anywhere outside Nigeria except in the UK where I lived.
Yes.
Other than that, any other place that there's a property in the name of Peter Obi, it is fake. It doesn't exist. And I don't need it. Why would I own a property where I don't live?
Well, I'm glad you clarified that point, but I'm afraid there are other things that need clarification. The Minister of Information, Lai Mohammed, recently called for your arrest, accusing you of treason. Do you see any links between your activities lately and any treasonable offenses?
Charles, is height of rascality. Height of rascality. And it was even announced in Washington. I committed a treasonable offense. And I'm in Onitsha. And my minister went to announce it in Washington. This is what I'm talking about. We're not talking about waste in governance here. People don't want to understand. The amount it costs Nigeria for him to go and announce that in Washington can fix, I can tell you, I've been in government, can build a block of 6 classrooms in a primary school. I'm sure if you go to his village, there's so many places where children don't even have desk or classroom to go to school. And instead of using that money to go and do it, he used that money to go to Washington to announce of treason of somebody who is not a child. He doesn't need to do that. It is rascality of the highest order. These are the reason why we want a new Nigeria where things will work the way it works in other climes. From there he went to London, announcing the same thing. Well, I'm in Nigeria. He should have come to see me or invite me and said this is the offense. How did we get here?
Yeah, that's a good question, but I'm afraid it will remain a rhetorical question at the moment. Some of your followers, just moving on from that, who are known as Obedience, have recently engaged in a sort of caustic exchange of words with Professor Wole Soyinka, the Nobel laureate, and he said that they simply don't accept any form of criticism. And I think it was around the time when he made the comments about fascism and your deputy, Yusuf Baba Dati Ahmed. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, Charles Prof is a respected, revered personality in Nigeria and globally. And I've always respected him. And he's a dear father to me. And for me, I was very, very sad that there was such a change. Some of the Obedience, I must tell you, or people they, mentioned that the Obedience, are not entirely people who are with us. The oppositions have also come into it. and are using it at times.
You mean other opposition
Other
parties?
opposition parties.
Right.
But that is not to worry about. But I was very sad there was such a exchange between a respected father but you have to understand this. These young people are people who have been so deprived by supposedly a system that is supposed to care for them. They've been pushed to the wall. Even me, Charles, the way they even react when I say things. But I could see their pain. I could feel it. Because I live in the same system, Charles, that they are living in. I said it in Enugu 2 days ago. I said, listen, I lived in this town. I went to JL in Enugu as a student, University of Nigeria, Nsukka, and paid 2,600 and something naira for a Volkswagen car. And within 2 years, Umano Motors in Nsukka sold a 505 to me at 2,700 naira, sorry, at 6,800 and something naira in the same country. I remember Ozumano telling me that they have too many orders from so many lecturers, so my own will be delayed. If you go and see people like Professor Wala, my lecturer then, they are driving new cars. It's some society where we lived, everything was working. All of a sudden, these young fellows now live in what you can consider a war situation. So at times, there's issues. I will make my own comment in it that Prof remains a revered father. And I'll keep respecting him for that. And of course, the young obedience, I feel for them. I wish we can see what they're saying. I wish we can feel what they're feeling. The pain. Chance I go around these young people. There's nothing the society is offering them.
Well, it's not just the
even when they try to do it on their own.
Yeah.
This is a place where if you carry today, you are moving around with laptop, you are arrested and labeled all sorts of names. This is a place where people are thrown into jail for even making comments. These are places where people, all sorts of things are meted on these people. When people who have stolen billions of country's money, done worse things, are moving around, being celebrated, being used as an example to them.
Well, on the back of what you're telling us, today is, of course, Labor Day or Workers' Day, and Nigeria marks the day amid rising unemployment, which kind of relates to the people that you're talking about, because a lot of the people who are most affected by unemployment are young people, and many of them are part of the obedient movement. What is your message about that?
Well, Charles, what message can you give them? Which country of our size that you know today is going through what we're going? We have almost 40% unemployment and 65% youth unemployment. When you talk about 1.3 million people being grouped as multidimensional poor, huge percentage of these are young people in their productive age, doing nothing without knowing where the next meal will come from. And nobody cares about them. And that's what is happening everywhere. And again, if I try to say something, you will even see where I said, I will start fighting poverty from the north. And people say, oh no, he's insulting people from the north. Even when Nigerian Bureau of Statistics said that out of this 133 million people, 86 million is from the north. And I say that's where we have vast or cultivated land, and I believe that we can make more money from agriculture than we're making from oil. And the only way to put this people out of poverty is to invest in these resources and invest in them and everything. So for me, I feel for them.
So that's how you think we should start reducing unemployment, is it? Through agriculture as a first step, or what is your what are your thoughts on
you got
unemployment?
to move the country from consumption to production. And that you start, the basic thing is agriculture. And you move it into manufacturing. And then into exports. The country is not doing anything. The country is not producing anything. The population is increasing. You're not doing anything. Just as a simple thing. And I can just give you a simple example. In 2012, we're about 162, 2011, we're about 162 million. Our export is about $130 billion. Today, 2021, we're already over 200 million. We're about 210 million. Our export was about 47 billion. So can you imagine, in 2011, we're about 130. In 2021, we're about 47. When our population moved from about 162 to 2010. In 2012, our export was about $145 billion. In 2020, as at that time, we were about 167 million in 2012. In 2022, we are now about 213 million. Our export last year, if I look at Nigerian Bureau of Statistics, is about 26.8 trillion, which if you convert it with 445 official rate, it's actually about 60 billion. So we couldn't even do half of where we are in 2012. What does it show? You're not doing anything. We have here an average container importation, just using container, not even using the containerized goods. We are now above 1 million. I think it's about, what I read last time, it's about 1.5 million approximately. Charles, several of these, up to 70 or 80%, go back empty. No other country. If you decide today that you have 1.5 million containers coming into Nigeria, and all of them must go back with some form of export, put it on average of about $20,000 per container going back with goods. That's $30 billion. So if, for example, 50% of this goes back empty, you lost $15 billion for a country that needs every dime.
That's a very interesting point.
So we